going to get solved out on, like I mentioned before, this is not going to get solved in the current condition that it's in. More assistance from the federal government is needed to make sure that safety maintains as the #1 priority through this whole situation. With that, now I'm going to introduce you to General Al Dorman of the North Dakota National Guard.
Thanks, Sheriff. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Al Dorman. I'm the Director of Emergency Services for the state of North Dakota. I'm also the Commander of the North Dakota National Guard. Yesterday, myself, Sheriff Paul Laney, Lonnie Wangen, our Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, and at the request of Mr. Wesley Clark Jr., we also had with us a representative of the Pipeline Security Team, had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Clark, Brenda Whitebull, who is a retired Marine from Standing Rock, and Candy Mossett from the 3 affiliated tribes. Mr. Clark is one of the organizers of the Veterans Standing with Standing Rock group who plans to protest against the pipeline this week, Sunday through Tuesday. We had a good discussion and walked away with a mutual commitment to maintaining peace, showing mutual respect for one another, and ensuring adequate space between law enforcement and protesters who peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights. During our discussions, we raised concerns about some of the statements in the operation order published and posted online by the protest leaders that stated or intimated offensive action against police line or movement onto private property. Mr. Clark assured us that there was no intent to engage law enforcement or move past the south side of the Backwater Bridge. Mr. Clark also assured us, more than once, that their intent is to bring awareness to the issue through prayer, nothing more. Further, Mr. Clark assured us that there would be no weapons and no aggression toward law enforcement from the Veterans Standing with Standing Rock group. Both law enforcement and the Veterans Standing with Standing Rock leaders understand that there is no way to control a minority in the camp looking for a confrontation. We agreed to continue dialogue to mitigate the actions of people who don't respect the spirit of the event. Mr. Clark did say that if the leaders of the Veterans Standing with Standing Rock group identified anyone getting out of line, they would remove these individuals from the protest area. Near the end of our conversation, I was able to spend a few minutes with Ms. Brenda Whitebull. We discussed a desire to reestablishing dialogue with traditional camp leaders with an eye toward maintaining peace, ensuring the personal safety of all involved, and starting the process of rebuilding our relationship with the Standing Rock people. I'll now turn the podium over to Sheriff Paul Laney, our operations chief.
Thank you, General. Sheriff Kirkmeyer. Hello, as you said, I'm Sheriff Laney, one of Sheriff Kirkmeyer's operations commanders. And as General Dorman said, yesterday we had very positive conversation on the bridge. During that conversation, a question was asked of me, would we consider pulling back from the bridge? And the answer to that question is yes. We want this to de-escalate more than anybody does. So what would it take for us to do this? Well, we've discussed this, and this is what we would consider. We will pull back to an area that gives us separation between the law enforcement and the protest groups. We will not permanently staff the north side of the bridge. And we will do this no later than 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Like everything, this comes with caveats. We have received very concerning intel that an element within the protest movement wants to exploit veterans with PTSD, arm them, and try to trigger their PTSD and turn them aggressive. Besides being horrible and wrong, it could be dangerous and deadly. So what do we need to do for us to pull back? The command element for these veterans, Wesley Clark Jr., Michael Wood, Ms. Brenda Whitebull, and Ms. Candy Mossett, who was also on the bridge, and those they have identified as leaders, need to intervene and assure us that they will not let this happen. They must control the violent members of their protest. Also, the protest movement must agree to 1, stay in the identified protest area, which is the main camp and the south edge of the bridge, not on it, south of it. 2, the protest movement must agree to stay off the bridge unless a prearranged meeting with Morton County is approved. 3, the protesters cannot at any time attempt to remove any barriers or wire from the bridge. It's not their property, and it's there for safety reasons. And 4, at no time will any protester move north of the bridge by walking, riding, or flying a drone. This includes trying to flank us on any side. When they move towards us aggressively, we have no way of knowing their intent. Compliance with these 4 requests will result in the following. It will keep a separation between law enforcement and the protesters and assist in de-escalating any further confrontations. And I think we all want that. It will show good faith by the protest movement in not moving towards the law enforcement lines and forcing a confrontation. It reinforces peaceful and prayerful in the designated protest areas. Violation of this agreement will result. It will demonstrate the intent of the protest movement for direct action against law enforcement and their desire for confrontation. It will show they have chosen to violate the law, and it will result in their arrest. It will result in the arrest of anyone moving in the area north of the bridge and the water lines north on core property. And it will result in our immediately moving forward to our positions on the north side of the bridge. But if we can agree, the results will be less of a chance for a confrontation. It establishes a protest area that law enforcement will not interrupt. And it demonstrates the intent of the protest movement to truly stay peaceful and prayerful. We all want this to de-escalate and end peacefully. However, that takes a concerted effort by the protest movement to police their own groups. We truly hope this can happen. Thank you.
All right, that is definitely a very big concern of ours and of law enforcement in general, is the safety of everybody involved, including the protesters, law enforcement, and the workers that are currently there. But I don't think everybody realizes that work on the construction is not happening at this point, and there is no work being done at the drill location until that easement is signed, or if it's not signed, this is where it stops. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. So with that, we will open up some questions.
If you guys are looking to reopen the bridge with the Army Corps of Engineers, I know everybody's anticipating what's going to happen on Monday. Are there any extra precautionary efforts you all will be taking?
On Monday, well, we're not going to open up the bridge until the bridge gets inspected and the violent protest activities stop occurring. But other than that, the barricades and stuff will remain in place until those things occur.
Sheriff, during the meeting, did people on the protest side admit to violent actions taken by members of their group?
I don't know if admit's the right word. I think everyone understands that there's an element within the protest camp that nobody controls. And in my discussion toward the end of our time there about re-engaging with traditional leaders, we had those conversations early on. And they were very productive conversations. I think there was mutual trust and respect between us and those traditional camp leaders. But even then, these are elders that garner a lot of respect from the Native American community, but they don't control everyone. And that camp is made up of many different folks from many different walks of life. So establishing rule of law and some level of order within that camp can be very challenging. Our request of the organizers of the Veterans Standing with Standing Rock is that they control their group and they assist us in controlling those that are looking to cause trouble. In talking with Mr. Clark, I truly believe he is committed, and his leaders are committed to keeping this peaceful.
Sheriff Whitmire, just a follow-up question. When you asked specifically for help from the federal government, what kind of assistance did you ask for other than the discussion of the easement? Could you be more specific on that?
Well, yes, as we go through this, and there's been questions about treaty land and that type of things to be figured out. And as we go through this, I cannot, the county cannot, the state of North Dakota cannot, but it's a federal government issue to deal with treaties. And those are the people that need to get involved. Whoever, how those treaties come about and where they go, it's a federal issue, and that needs to come from them.
And a follow-up on the barricade. When you discussed where the barricade was going to be north of the bridge, can you tell us what that distance is? And also, as you know, information gets to the camp very slowly in some aspects, so not everyone will actually hear your message and not know what the rules of engagement are. So I wonder what the flexibility would be on law enforcement and getting your message out in terms of where the parameters are.
Well, you're here, and I hope that message gets out strongly. I mean, we have representatives of all area of media, and I'm telling you that social media network, whether it's the complete lies and misinformation out there, or the legitimate media outlets that get onto Facebook and get into social media, they'll see this. Believe me, everything we say and do is usually out there fairly quick, ma'am. And we're hoping that will happen, and we will engage with the people we talked to yesterday. Look what happened out of that conversation. We're standing here willing to do this. We want to show de-escalation. If you'll notice, the only time there's ever been confrontation is when they come at us. On October 27th, we did everything we could prior to that date to not have to move in and enforce the rule of law and move people off private property. We were forced to do that. We moved off private property, we moved the protesters up, and we stopped at that bridge. And we've never moved past that bridge. The only time there's confrontation is when they come after us and come at us on the bridge, or they try to come across the water lines, or they try to come over to Turtle Hill and try to come towards us. And all we said is go back to the protest site. There will be no confrontation. How far we're going to move back, that's a tactical situation for the safety of our officers. I won't say that, but I will say it's a distance that's very respectful of what they want to do. And it'll certainly allow them to protest. It'll certainly allow them to give their opinion and their voice without us hovering right across the bridge.
And is it only temporary for tomorrow at 4 p.m. or is it going to be indefinite?
This could be permanent if they can police themselves, if these groups looking for confrontation will de-escalate. And we all know that maybe they can't control some of these violent factions, but they certainly know who they are.